Two Davids Walk Into a Bar was filmed before a live studio audience.
You know what it is not to feel separate. One moment, something animalistic takes over. In one furious, exquisite act, you're lost.
Once upon a time, a terrible legacy was born. A vendetta carried through the ages.
You're gonna hang on my back for another 100 years.
Never forgiven nor forgotten.
She was just like you.
Couldn't have known her. This picture's too old.
I didn't know you loved that girl. I didn't know the feeling was possible. But now you do.
Cold hands.
Now, a new woman has come between them.
It's not your concern, isn't it?
You took the woman that I love without a second thought. Don't tell me you got a problem with Kate.
Her love
I'm gonna bring her in.
is to die for.
I'm glad you could make it. I want you to read this. Bram Stoker only had the story half right.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about Vlad. The guy existed, but they never got him. He never died. Lady Dracula is based on this guy. Let the hand of him that loved her best strike the blow that sets her free. He wants you next. It's not true. I should be fighting to keep you, and instead I'm desperately trying not to. But you can't replace her. She was light.
You can't touch me!
If you love her, if you care anything about her, let her go.
Scores Pictures presents To Die For.
Hello, this is Two Davids Walk Into a Bar. I'm David Anderson, and across from the aisle from me, about 3,000 miles away, is David Lawler.
How are you? That's actually the intro for Siskel and Ebert right there.
Well, we're talking about a movie, so does it matter?
We're crossing streams. We're straddling universes
streams.
here.
Yes, we're in the urinal trough of life, and we're crossing streams.
Gene, I thought the movie had promise, but I really didn't like it that much. No, shut up, Roger, because I did. No. Something like that. What are we doing?
Okay, we're talking about this movie, Dracula. Let's see, A Love Story to Die For.
Right, which was not the original title. The original
It's just
title
called To Die For?
Right, it was just called To Die For, which is the title I could remember. I worked in video stores. You worked in video stores?
I went to video stores.
Okay, there you go. Well, working in video stores for a good portion of my adolescent years, I saw this box constantly. And you would think it was like a direct-to-video title, but it did receive a theatrical release. But,
oh, yeah, and I could tell it was shot on film because you can see the occasional, at least the version I watched, you could see the occasional reel change cue things in the corner.
Yeah. They do their best to try and chop those out, but you can still see them, yeah. But you would see like several copies in a Blockbuster, an RKO Video in our area. That's where we were. That's what we had. So they changed it, though, for the re-release because of, I guess, the Nicole Kidman movie that was directed by Gus Van Sant.
Yeah, and even though this movie said it was made in 1989 and it probably came out in 1989, the version I watched, at the very end, it's a copyright 1995. So that might have been like a re-release of the title. For all I know.
And the version we saw.
Yeah,
but they changed it back, though. We saw, actually, the one I sent you.
Yeah.
The one I looked at was actually a very rare version because it has the ultra title. It says in the credits, Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is unfortunate, the love story to die for. And so there's a couple of names in the cast already that I recognize, like Amanda Wyss or Wyss or whatever. Is it Wyss or Wyss?
Probably Wyss. As in like Janet
say,
Weiss, I would guess.
Janet Weiss.
Yes.
From Nightmare on Elm Street. The music is by Cliff Eidelman.
Star Trek 6.
Composed the excellent score for Star Trek 6, but it seemed like he just sort of dashed this off on a synthesizer.
Yeah, this is a very cheap synth score, and the movie starts out, and we'll get back to the actors, but I just want to remember this. The movie starts out on a very cheap, low, like it looks like it's like overhead footage It looks
Right.
like it's shot from a news copter, like weather news
Helicopter,
yeah. And I'm like, oh wait a minute, is this gonna be like a shot on video? And then it goes into the actual movie, and then it looks like it was shot on film. But it looks like they were like, well, we don't have footage. We'll just we'll pay some guy in the news copter to go up there.
Maybe the director knew somebody in Kitla or something like that. Deran Sarafian, who
Yes.
also directed Terminal Velocity.
I was gonna mention that too. I was like, Charlie Sheen winning.
Yes.
One of his good movies, by the way. If anybody ever actually sees Terminal, it's actually a solid movie.
They were. I don't know what was going on in Sheen's career at that time. He was trying to move away from comedy to become an action hero.
This was kind of right around the the Three Musketeers, and then he did it was Hot Shots, then Three Musketeers, then Hot
Right.
Shots Part 2. Then
With
this.
Valeria.
Yes. This is 9, and Terminal Velocity is like 95-ish, I think.
Yeah, 95. He also directed an episode of House, an episode of Lost, and an episode of Fringe. So I guess he was a.
Yeah, he's kind of like he kind of went back into, and also something that pops out of my mind. He did a movie in the mid-late '80s called Alien Predators. And I the only reason I know that is because I remember looking in one of my old video magazines, and it was like this ad, and it looked very cheap. It was a Trans World Entertainment kind of movie, and
he was a nephew of director Robert Altman, and you can see the stunning similarities between his work and Altman's. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I will say that.
Did you see all the teeth on that monster? That's so Altman-esque.
I will say, for what it was a well-made movie. I'd say it was well directed for what they were trying to do, or what who knows how it was cut up, and what the producer said. Hey, we don't like this. We want more of this.
If you told me that this movie cost $100, I would have been like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, according to the trivia here, the film was released on VHS by Academy Entertainment in the late 1980s, then released on DVD under that title, Bram Stoker's To Die For, under the title Bram Stoker's To Die For, by Triumph Marketing in 2005, and that version's currently out of print. Mm-hmm. Bram Stoker never wrote a book called To Die For, so I don't know where they got that title from.
Well, isn't it always Bram Stoker's Dracula somewhere in there? Bram Stoker's.
No, it had 3 titles. When it was originally came out as To Die For, then it came out as that version that we saw, the love story, blah blah blah, To Die For, and then it was re-released as Bram Stoker's To Die For, which I guess Nicole Kidman is a vampire news anchor person who kills people.
She kind of was. She was kind of an emotional vampire in that movie. Really,
she was an emotional. Well, she was like what they are, what people are. People are all about their careers.
But most people are a little bit less murdery, a little bit.
Wasn't
less.
Matt Dillon in that movie?
Matt Dillon. Is he the guy that she had murdered, or I can't even remember. I know it was her and Joaquin Phoenix.
I think she might have been married to him. I'm not sure. Joaquin Phoenix was
the student that
killer.
she seduces. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is all. That was actually based on a true story too.
The Idiot. Yes. It's you know what? That was a movie that got a lot of publicity and a lot of hype, and I watched it and I was like so what? I had a so what? I have that feeling about Gus Van Sant as a director anyway. Every time he makes a movie, they always make it out to be something more important than it is, and I'm just like, so what? I think the best movie Gus Van Sant made, well, he made 2 good movies. He made Drugstore Cowboy, and he made
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting, yeah. That one I saw in the
But that's Good Will Hunting is like a conventional movie.
It is.
It's not like somebody trying to make an art house movie. It's actually an art house guy trying to make a conventional movie, and it does quite well. And it's a lot of it has to do with the script. The Matt Damon and Ben Affleck script that they wrote. That they started it as one script and took out like the government conspiracy angle of being chased on the run, and he's like the fugitive because he's so smart. Right. And they just kind of pared it down into this small movie about a smart guy trying to work on his issues.
Yeah, and they threw in a lot of fart jokes.
Yeah, which is always good.
But the thing, I don't know. Watching it, I was like, "There's no way Minnie Driver would fuck him." I'm just thinking that.
Oh, come on, he's Matt Damon.
I liked. You know what? I loved Robin Williams. I thought he was wonderful.
Yes, you got an Oscar for that.
Yes, yes. So back to this to die for.
Yes.
Which is okay. You know, I try to follow this as much as I could, and I made up all kinds of nicknames for the girl. But we start on a boat, and there's a hot brunette with long hair, makes eyes at a guy I can only assume is a vampire because he's very creepy looking, right?
See, I'm like, okay, you gotta remember the time. It's 1989. Right. This is a little wispy, fruity, foppish kind of guy with big hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? If you look like that in 1989, you were getting laid.
I guess so. I would assume so.
Oh, yes. You go out there with being all like that. The women
He's got
are
like hair like that dude from Duran Duran. Not Simon Le Bon, but the other guy.
He's like, he came out of a Duran Duran video or something.
Talk to you.
We talk every day.
No, you think I'm ignoring you, don't you?
I don't.
No, Ben's new wife looks exactly like his first wife. I called her Lynn twice. I mean, it's practically career suicide. Katie, you're not paying attention. How about a little kiss?
Martin, you're drunk.
Come on, Lynn, I need you on my arm. Back me up, come on.
Hey, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. Excuse me.
Hey, Mart, thanks for the invite.
I'm having a great time.
Hey, not now, Rich. Kind of busy.
You dog. I'm gonna get a drink.
Okay.
Hi, name's Rich. Nice setup. Wonder who's throwing this yuppie powwow anyway. Wasn't invited. Buddy Martin turned me onto it. Yo, darling, what you got there? All right. Yeah. I'm so thirsty I could drink a lake. You look like you need a drink. Yo, darling, come on back here. My pal's half parched. Come on, have something. Hey, lighten up. We gotta have some fun. I know what the problem is. You lost your tie. Hey, come on. I'm just trying to be a nice guy. Come on, have something. A beer on me. Anything. Shoe?
That, you know, it works. And it's like, you know, I guess it would be the tattooed, bearded, you know, kind of like today, that would work, I guess.
Maybe.
And you just go in and the women are like, you know, you don't need to be.
A few minutes into the movie, she's making out with him. And
she's making out with him. And yeah, she kind of looks at him and he looks at her and he gives her the eye and then they just walk over and start making out.
Yeah, and she jilts this
douche
whips
guy
out a few
that she's with. Lines of like, you know, I can't even remember what he said. I was kind of jealous because I thought the woman was hot, and so.
Well, you know, I don't know. I had problems with her face. I don't know.
Well, you know,
her name is Sydney Walsh.
I looked her up and I actually remember she was actually the friend in Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she had kind of like bigger 80s like curly hair in that.
Yeah.
And
but the hair is pretty big though in this movie. Though.
And then Amanda Wyss, of course, is in the first Street, playing like I think if I remember, like that was the thing that took me out of the movie where it was like she was supposed to be like 15 in that movie. She's already like 30, you know.
Yeah.
But
Sydney made a bunch of guest appearances on a lot of TV shows. She was on the new Twilight Zone from '85. She was on T.J. Hooker, Hunter, Who's the Boss, Lois and Clark, Murder, She Wrote, you know, things like that.
Yeah, I remember like her first line with him. He doesn't even say anything. She starts, you know, ripping off like, you know, I was born in 1958.
Right.
My father, he does something with lasers, and my mom's a housewife.
1958. Okay, this is 89. Now we make her 31.
Yeah, I did the math too, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I actually looked her up. She was actually a little younger than that. She was like 61 or something.
Oh.
So I don't know what.
She's 61 now.
No, she's 61 now.
She wasn't 61. She's a vampire. She's a feisty feminist go-getter. She works at a real estate firm, and she dreams about the creepy vampire dude at her job. Her, I guess Amanda's playing her roommate or something.
Yeah,
and she doesn't have a job, and she gets her a job working as a secretary for this guy. His name is Vlad, by the way.
Remember, we got to mention her whiny bitch boyfriend.
Which whiny bitch? There's two whiny bitch boyfriends.
Okay, there's two, and they actually team. We'll get to that later, but they team up and become like a whiny bitch pair.
Whiny bitch pair of vampire hunters, yeah.
But no, her the brunette's her boyfriend, who I knew that face, and I looked him up. It's actually Scott Jacoby.
Scott Jacoby, right. I saw that name in the credits, so who is that dude again?
He is, if you want to go back, and maybe you'll remember that movie Bad Ronald?
Bad Ronald.
Bad Ronald, about the kid that lived in the house.
I'd know.
Okay, here's a brief synopsis, okay?
All right.
Mildly retarded kid accidentally kills a girl, and his overprotective mom, to make sure, because the police might go looking for him,
okay,
she builds a little room in a wall in her house. Okay, he lives in there, and then she like wallpapers it over, and she makes a special door so he can hide in there while the cops go look for him. And she says he just ran away. I don't know where he went. And she lives in there, and then unfortunately she dies. She has like a heart attack. By the way, the mother's played by Kim Hunter from Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
She dies, and then he's still living in there for like months, and he's got like food and everything. And then a family buys the house, and he's still in the house. He's still living in that wall. And the father's played by Dabney Coleman.
Oh wow!
I know, this is like the most awesome movie ever made. I remember from my childhood.
I have to look this up. It sounds incredible.
It's an awesome movie. And then of course, eventually he's like, well, I've run out of food, so he starts like kind of like leaving the room, and he goes in, and there's like this, and they notice like a smell, you know.
Okay.
And he goes in there, he starts stealing food. He becomes friends with one of the girls that lives there. He becomes obsessed with her. It becomes this weird sort of guy living in the house, obsessed, stalking thing.
So it's like it's a little bit of Mice and Men, Diary of Anne Frank, and The People Under the Stairs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's the most awesome movie. It's like I'd much rather watch that than this, but this has its charms. But that's a much better movie.
So Scott Jacoby was
Ronald, yes, and he's like 15 or something in that movie.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's like from the 70s.
That's interesting because it sounds like something that is like it's not being made anymore because a lot is invested in the story. There, you have your setup, and then you have, you have your narrative going, and then you have a twist, which is interesting. I like that. Yeah,
it's a really good. It's one of those things where you're I'm like 11 years old. It's 3 a.m. and it's on.
All right,
and it's a TV movie too, so it's like this was on regular TV. It's like a lot of
okay. We gotta find that. Maybe we'll do that in the future too.
We'll have to. I've been looking it up every once in a while. It pops up on YouTube and then it's gone. It's kind of like the Detective School Dropouts, where it's like it pops up and then it's gone. I think there's actually like a Spanish language remake in some other country, like they remade it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a whole other movie. But like that's what I recognized.
Well, those TV movies are very hard to find because a lot of them didn't get any kind of release on video.
This one did because the version I looked up actually had like a Prism Entertainment logo on it or something. So it was released on video somewhere.
So Scott Jacoby, huh?
Jacoby,
and here he is with big hair.
With big hair.
Scott Jacoby is who? Amanda's boyfriend?
Not Amanda's, the brunette.
Oh, okay.
And then the other guy, I don't know who he is. But yeah, it's what happens is, but he's basically in the friend zone. It's like he's dating her, but he's not. He's already like a whiny bitch because he's like, he
is whiny. He's like, I want to talk about our relationship.
She's like, what relationship? We're not even dating. So he's already like, he's like a guy who thinks he's dating some woman. He's in the friend zone. So and he's talking about being engaged too. I'm like, what?
Right. He what is he studying to be an anesthesiologist or something? I forget.
I don't know. Some whiny bitch profession. I don't know.
It's really hard to follow because I have to say Cliff Eidelman's score is a little distracting because they keep throwing it in there.
I mean, I think I said this before, like pretentious of like the music is very pretentious. Maybe intentionally. It's like the pretentiousness of the music goes along with the pretentiousness of the vampire, of the Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have Hamster Cheeks, which is Sydney Walsh. That's what I started calling her.
Yeah.
She can't focus because she keeps thinking about Mr. Tepish. That's his name. The creepy guy.
Mr.
Vlad Tepish. Vlad, cute name there. So he wants to see a house at night, and she's a real estate agent. I did mention that actually.
It's a house, but it's almost like they found the most sort of Dracula castle-y looking house in Los Angeles that they could find to use.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What?
Well, it's just kind of...
Does the furniture come with it?
Don't you want to see the rest of the house? I'll check into it.
Do that. Check into it.
You think you are so cool.
And they'll be like, well, you know what? It's Beverly Hills. It's architecture. That's what it's about. Sydney, I think she's a little over the top. She's very soap opera in her acting in the movie. But I have to be kind to it because, as I was telling you before we started, everybody was making movies like this back in those days. You know, do you remember a TV show? You probably do. It's called Forever Night.
Yeah, that was like a late night CBS show, right?
Well, it was.
I think it was
CBS. It started as a 2-hour pilot. Rick Springfield played the character of Nick Knight.
Oh, okay, all right.
In the pilot, though.
Okay.
Then it became a series with this Welsh or something actor named Jaron Wynn Davies, and the show ran for 3 seasons, and it was syndicated for the most part. But it was one of my favorites, and it has the same beats as this film. It's kind of got the same flow, you know, early 90s kind of thing, and it's about a vampire. He's a vampire, but he's also a cop. And I guess in more than a few episodes, he winds up killing other vampires or something like that.
A little bit of a Highlander vibe maybe in there. Like
it has a Highlander vibe, and then you remember the Buffy spinoff Angel kind of rips it off a little bit because Angel's kind of a
but wasn't Angel after that?
Angel was after a couple of years after, yeah. And also after Buffy. So Overbite, who is Sydney Walsh, is smitten with this Vlad Tepes. She strokes her hair in a creepy way. Everything he does is creepy.
Yeah. Well, he's got like the Dracula sort of like the hypnovision kind of thing. He doesn't really use it, but he just looks at her with this weird sort of fruity look.
I guess yeah, because there's this. He also does the same thing with Amanda later on, and this is where I started to pick up the similarities between this and Bram Stoker's original story. This is basically just a kind of updating of Dracula, if you will. Amanda is like Lucy, and she is like Mina.
It seems like he's trying to get to her through her friend now, and her friend like becomes like his minion very quickly, but she becomes his minion quickly, but then like she slowly descends into sort of man, almost like Renfield.
Kind of. I was thinking,
kind of looked at it as like vampire PMS a little bit, like stay away from my man.
Please, not that.
Make her leave. Make her leave. Please run. Please run. Celia, stay away from him. Where's Jane?
Fucking her brains out in the backseat of some guy's car. She'd be following your lead.
Celia.
Get out.
What have I done?
Get out.
Celia, what's going on?
He's mine. He's mine. I need him.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you.
Shut up.
Let's go, Susie. Please. Let's just go home.
I'll take you.
Stay away from me.
I was thinking that his friend, the really bad guy, was more of the Renfield, but I guess you're right. She's kind of a combination of Lucy and Renfield.
What was
the dude with the sunglasses? He wears them at night.
I didn't understand what his deal was, because they get to that later where it's like, and maybe this was why we were talking about Detective School Dropouts. Maybe this is why it reminded you of that, where it's like the painting. It's like the painting of this woman, and that's why he picked her, because she looks like the woman in the painting, even though she looks nothing like that woman in the painting.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I was thinking on something. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking I need to get David Anderson back for what he did to me. So I'm just going to pick something at random that I know was around. So I picked this one.
Yeah,
but let's go with painting.
Yeah, don't throw me in the briar patch. You know, I didn't hate this movie. It wasn't like a torturous. I mean, I got to say, I probably liked it more than Detective School Dropouts, because it was entertaining. It was fun to laugh at,
and you could hear it.
I could hear it. Actually, not only could I hear it, I was watching it on my sort of plasma surround sound setup and everything.
Right.
This movie was mixed in full surround sound. You know, it had good sound, like it was coming out of every speaker. So it was a halfway well-made movie. It was a competently made film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe those Robert Altman genes were.
Okay, so Vlad and the bad dude obviously know each other, and Vlad is looking to replace his lost love, and I guess that's where the Dracula similarity starts. But it's kind of cheap, at least compared to Coppola's take a couple of years later.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, like compare this to other movies around the same time. Your Lost Boys, your Fright Night, those are much better movies. There's only better movies. They're more well made. They have more money. But I'm saying
still the same spirit too.
The
right?
same.
I mean, it's like you can't remove the period in which this was shot. You know, it's like it's there. It's ever present.
Well, that's why when you have Sexy Dracula, he just looks like a fop. You know, he looks like he's the lead singer of The Damned.
Well, who's the lead? Who is the lead vampire in Lost Boys?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer? Is it Kiefer?
Or it's either that or that guy who was actually like the, oh God, I forgot his name. At the very end, when you realize he was a vampire.
Edward Herrmann.
Edward Herrmann, yeah. Either he's the leader, or I think he was actually.
Edward Herrmann is not sexy.
No,
he's FDR.
No.
In Annie. It's very much like an updating, and the history is absent, and the characters are performing blind until I guess the boyfriend looks it up and he figures out, hey, Vlad Tepes was the name of Vlad the Impaler, suspected of being a vampire.
I'm also remembering like this is 6 years before, say, Interview with a Vampire.
Right.
Interview with a Vampire, a lot of the same themes, a lot of the same tone, but way more well made. And although
I saw that in the theater a couple of times actually,
is Tom
and
Cruise
Dracula.
A sexy man in that movie? No,
he's not.
He's. I mean, I say this as a heterosexual man. He's a much more attractive man just being Tom Cruise.
Well, the thing about it is that I knew people who read the book before I did, and they were like, Tom Cruise, no, he's not Lestat. There's no way. And I think he made it work, actually, for what... I really did like Brad Pitt in the movie, too.
Yeah.
And visually wonderful to look at. Just a great movie to look at. A lot of fun. And kind of sad, too. You kind of feel for these people in a way. But when it comes to what really did it as far as bringing vampires back into the pop culture, I think was probably the Coppola movie. For some reason. After that... because this is interesting, because this movie came out before this big vampire boom.
Right before. Like, the Coppola was 92, late 92.
And so was Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, the original movie, came out in 92. And then after that, suddenly everything is like,
I mean, you could say
and then Buffy, and then this Twilight stuff.
86, Once Bitten, in a more comedy.
Once Bitten was cute. That was such a damned cute movie watching it. I loved it. I loved watching it. I thought it was fantastic. I looked at that movie and I said, Jim Carrey's going to be a big star.
He did that, and then he went off and did that didn't work. So
these movies like Once Bitten. There was another one called Transylvania 6500 or
65,000. Yes.
Yeah, it's goofy vampire stuff, very schlocky, very shtick. There's a lot of shtick involved. And that was more comedy. We were setting off the dramatic tone.
This has
everything
some
that we're
shtick.
watching now.
It's like there are moments where it's like they realize the silliness of what they're doing.
Yeah, like the whole bit in the hospital when Amanda's character dies or something.
Yeah,
the whole thing. He's trying to explain vampires to this person, and it's like vampire movies don't exist in this world. Vampire books don't exist. I wish we could come up with a name for that where we're not really aware of all the fiction that preceded it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are movies that are meta. Like you look at a Tarantino movie and there's obviously beats there that he's taking from other movies, and he seems to have his characters aware of it. Speaking
of meta, I want to talk about the various actors in this movie. Like I said, like you've got a couple of people from Nightmare on Elm Street. You've got the guy from Bad Ronald. Mm-hmm. You've got a guy from Night of the Living Dead.
Dwayne Jones, right?
Dwayne Jones. He's only in it for like 5 minutes.
He's the cop, right?
He's one of the cops.
He's the black guy.
There's two black guys because there's another black cop at the end when they finally get to the carnage at the end.
Right.
There's another black cop, but yeah, he comes in. He basically just yells at her or something. I don't remember exactly what it is. And God, there's like a few other actors in there where it's like I remember them. So it's like you see, and then you have, the director is kind of well known. You get Cliff Eidelman. So it's like all these people either went off to go do better things, or they did better things before.
Or they died right after.
Yeah. But this is like a nexus of talent, wasted talent kind of thing.
But I have no doubt that Coppola watched this movie while he was working on Dracula, because there's some beats in there that are very similar.
I'm sure Keanu Reeves watched it and did his performance based on some of the things in that, because he was kind of in his crappy phase then. So
I am like handling real estate for this dude.
Yeah. Excellent.
Winona Ryder had a few years to perfect a really crappy British accent.
Alex Winter was in Lost Boys, so
that's right. He was also in Death Wish 3.
That's a great movie.
Yes.
Hold this. Okay, what happens now? Let the hand of him that loved her best strike the blow that sets her free. You're kidding me. You gotta do it. Sever the head, Van Helsing said. Sever the head. Oh, God. What was that? Cartilage. I think I'm gonna be sick.
So, I also want to mention John Buechler did the special effects.
Yeah, he's always good. Like, all of this stuff is always good, and he's
he directed Troll. Do you remember the movie Troll with?
I love the movie Troll with
Michael
Sonny
Moriarty,
Sonny Bono,
yeah, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Who turns into her husband Brad Hall, who turns into a tree or something, and she becomes like a wood nymph.
Yeah. He directed these, and then he comes. It's like, John, we need you for this movie. We couldn't get Tom Savini. He's like, I'm there.
He also did Friday the 13th Part 7.
The New Blood.
Which I saw in the theater.
Lar Park Lincoln.
Yes.
Right. Nice idea, combining Carrie with Jason. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but also, I found this very interesting in the end credits, that the movie had such a large crew, but there was no MPAA certification. I was wondering, was it a union shoot or not? I guess not.
Perhaps it was because it was direct-to-video. It was like... I think I'm wondering if they thought, well, we want to make sure it gets played in the theaters because we want to have Oscar consideration.
Yes. They had to make it in right before the Oscar deadline. They sent ads to everybody.
Yeah, for your consideration. Best actor, best whiny bitch, Christopher.
Yes. So, in the end, the movie, it's not remarkable, but it's not terrible.
It does not completely suck, and there's some stuff in it where it's like, it's the kind of movie where what you need is get a bunch of friends together, either get drunk or get high, and watch this, and halfway pay attention and mess with your phone while you're doing it, and then every once in a while you'll see something and you go, whoa, and laugh your ass off. And that's kind of the kind of movie it is. Maybe, I don't know if that was the intention, but that's the kind of movie it is.
It's well, the filmmaker, when he's making the movie, he's not fixated or focused on the quality outside of what he thinks is good. It's like, this is my statement, this is what I want to do.
You know what? I felt like,
and that's why there's a disconnect between the filmmaker and the audience, because the audience is going to look at it and say, "My God, this is terrible," or something like that. And you never, as the filmmaker, you never have that thought in the back of your head. You're just
they're
like,
probably like, "Here, you have this amount of money. Go do something with it." And he was like, "Well, I'm going to do the best. I'm going to be the best Magilla gorilla that I can be. You know, I'm going to do the best I can."
All right, that's. I guess we're done talking about this. This has been To Die For, huh? To Die For. And there was a sequel. There was a sequel.
Yeah, I was going to mention that there was a sequel with at least Chris Jacoby, because he didn't have anything going on.
Yeah. Chris, we're making a sequel. All right, I'm there. He's the Michael Caine of direct-to-video.
Those bad Ronald residuals are not coming in like I'd hoped, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I guess next time, what are we going to talk about next time?
I don't even know. It's up to you. You're going to send me something, and I'm going to go, oh, no.
I did want to do Provoked with Gino, have him on as a guest. If that happens, I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right.